Hey everyone, welcome back to Rewind and React and our one-shot series where we take a look at an individual music video. Today we are going to finish our Halloween spooky themed one-shot episodes.
Yes, and today's video is probably one of the least known bands we've ever covered. However, the video is an amazing one. It has a riveting storyline, and they are one of my current favorite bands, so that helped us squeeze these guys in here. Today we present to you Sledge by Dance with the Dead. The video opens with a man in a car driving down dark, empty roads. As the gas gauge in the car begins to dip to empty, he frantically searches the sides of the road and eventually pulls up to a man waiting outside of a diner, thumbs out. Our driver happily pulls over, invites the hitchhiker to store his luggage in the trunk, and when he opens it, a glowing red mist pours out. Before the hitchhiker can react, the driver grabs him and throws him into the trunk, the man screaming as he is engulfed in the supernatural car. Blood spurts from the tailpipe, and the car's fuel gauge returns to full. Our driver continues to find lost souls to feed to the vehicle, with one victim fleeing and stabbing the driver when caught. But his weapon's cut is useless against the driver, suggesting he is also supernatural, and the helpless victim is fed to the demonic car just like the others. With every victim, the gas tank returns to full, but each ride is short-lived before the tank runs dry once again. The video narrative comes to a climax as the driver sees a woman standing alone outside of a dark, vacant convenience store. He pulls up and parks the car, but when he gets out, the woman is gone. He searches through the sides of the store, sinisterly hunting her, only to return to his car and find the curious woman looking into his open trunk, seemingly mesmerized by the red glow and fog. He approaches her, prepared to push her into the compartment, but just as he gets close enough, she grabs onto his shoulders and lunges him into the very trunk where he had sacrificed so many people before. He screams as he is devoured by the car. She closes the trunk and takes the driver's seat of the vehicle. Her face in the mirror now the same skeletal form as his once was, and just as the video is fading to black, she looks back to see two men approaching her, her next two victims.
Yeah, and I assume those next two victims are the band.
They are, yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm more of a words in my song kind of person. But when I first heard this, I was like, okay, this is interesting. The video, though, really sold me on it. And as I mentioned in other episodes, we have kind of a synthwave-ish theme coming along with our three Halloween episodes here. And this one is pure synth. I guess dark synth is what the genre is defined as, but it's very much a synth feeling that I feel like we see in video games. I know movies were a big reference, but I can see this as like a Castlevania soundtrack song. The video was really cool because I think they take what is, again, a song with no words and turn it into a whole narrative. And I know, Rob, you picked this one out, but what did you like about this one?
What really stood out to me is obviously the storyline, right? That's really all we have to go on here. So it's cursed object horror. It gave me a lot of vibes of like Creepshow or Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone, I guess. Car is never really explained. It just is. And the ambiguity of like, what is a car? Why is it hungry? It gives us that cursed object horror. Stephen King is another one. He loves the
Yeah.
cursed object. You could list several of his books that are exactly this. These mundane items become parasitic. And yeah, especially the red glowing trunk, it feels very king-like, like something he would write. And it's kind of like a mini Twilight Zone episode. The
Hmm.
sinister object always has these like hidden costs that you don't know about. And I guess like as I'm talking about that, we should probably kind of break down exactly what happens here. I've seen it so many times, but it wasn't upon this like most recent viewing that I'm like, oh, I get it now. Before, I thought this woman is another demon or something like that. Like from the beginning, I thought this guy was the supernatural force. But later, I figured out, oh, it's the car that's the supernatural force. And the car turns her at the end. Did you get that same? That
So actually, no, I thought because she's in a different car. So she has her own car when he approaches her in the back. And so I just thought they were both demons with these evil cars and they just happened to run into each other.
Oh,
That's what
interesting. So,
that's what I was getting from the story. So he's driving, and again, he uses the bodies to feed the car and keep the engine going. Although I will say they need a better mile per gallon because I feel like he runs out of gas very quickly each body. I don't know how much time passes, but it just felt like he's not getting the most efficient car here. It's definitely not an EV. But I think at the end he's finding his next mark. She probably doesn't know he's a demon, but she sees her next mark. So she brings him in, she lures him in, and then she kills him, and then she's continuing her journey.
I interpreted it a little differently, where she came to his car and the car kind of decided it's ready for a new servant, especially I guess because he got stabbed, right? Like he clearly wasn't feeding it fast enough, and the car is sensing, hey, this guy's not doing it for me, so I need a new pawn to like feed me these bodies.
I guess how would the car get inside the garage?
Oh, I didn't think she was in the
Because she,
garage. I thought
so
she
she
was in
started
there
out
on it.
outside, and when he gets out of the car, she's no longer in front of the gas station. So he walks through the offices or like through the garage and finds her in the back of the building
I
car.
interpreted it as him walking around the building and then coming back out to where his car was and seeing her there. Because like, wouldn't he? Well, I guess either way, he would know what's going on with that trunk.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Well,
So
like the road horror. It's on an isolated highway, lonely gas stations, closed diners. It's kind of like a subgenre of horror, especially popular in America, The Hitcher or Jeepers Creepers, where this open road gives us like a sense of isolation and it builds tension and discomfort because there's nobody around to help you if something goes wrong, right?
I do like the setting, and again, it has that 80s, maybe 70s feel. I looked up the cars. They're like old Lincolns, so I assume it's like around that time period. Also, there's a payphone, so it's obviously sometime around there. But
Yeah, that dates it.
yeah, it does date it, but it fits that genre, like you said, and I think the band is very inspired by like John Carpenter and his movies. But you got that 70s and 80s feel, like, the fog that John Carpenter did and things like that, where you got the whole foggy effect. You got the cool color palette. The reds are very strong here, and you can see them through the fog and the mist. And even when he pulls into that diner, the
Yeah,
diner
yeah,
has like red windows. So they
yeah.
did a great job of like setting up, like you said, the empty highways.
Yeah, very like muted blue hue to the whole video except for red. Red's the one that pops out, right? When the tailpipe spitting out the blood and the glowing trunk. Anything that's red is really standing out from the rest of the hue of the video. We talked a little bit about the highways. Have you ever seen After Hours by Cracked? Four people at a diner just randomly
After
having a
hours. Yep.
discussion. Great video series. They kind of dive in on one of their episodes. I wish I could find it. I don't have it off the top of my head, but they talk about how modern horror films in America are different than in England. In America, we focus a lot on the countryside outside of the city where the horror happens, whereas in all the English horror films take place inside the city. They attribute it to like, where all the bad things have happened in their past, like Jack the Ripper, the plague,
hmm
Jekyll and Hyde, were all in the city, whereas a lot of our like American dark history took place in the countryside, the Trail of Tears, the Salem witch trials, things that were like outside of the main metropolitan area. And I think it really ties into, as Americans, the open road is scary because there's not a lot of people there to help you out. Whereas in
Yeah.
England, the people who are there are the ones you should be scared of.
That's a cool point because I think of it as horror movies in America, and maybe this was like started with The Night of the Living Dead, but they took it to the countryside because that's where like most of America can be like, this could happen here. If you're watching this in a theater and you're like in a small town and you see a murder in New York or some kind of monster in New York, it's scary, but you're like, oh, that's fine. That I'm not going to New York probably ever. What does it matter to me? But when you do it out in the middle of nowhere, these people are driving home from maybe watching something, then that's where kind of that creepiness I feel like helps with that imagination of, oh, this is where something bad can happen.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the diner, and that's where we have our first murder. I think what kind of threw me off, I like all the murders, but it's funny because then the next scene is like some guy running in the middle of the street and then he's in the woods. And that's fine. It kind of threw me off though, because I feel like all of his marks are natural. Like he just pulls up to a place and grabs someone. Did he just find someone randomly running in the middle of a dark road in the middle of the night and he chased them down, and then that's like again. I'm overthinking this a little bit, but I was just like, this throws me off at the element of this could happen to me because I'm not running down a highway in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I just assumed it's somebody he had tried to grab and they got away.
Mm.
As
No,
just
that
right.
makes sense. Actually, that does make more sense because, yeah. And again, we've said this before, music videos, you can't fit everything into it unless you're a thriller with 14 minutes. So you got to cut some corners here and there.
There's not a very big attempt to humanize the driver. We just kind of see him as like a puppet of the car. He's disconnected. It feels like he's lost his humanity. And I feel like it kind of like that detachment lends to that horror theme of the video where he's scary because he's not worried about the victims here. All he needs to do is feed the car and keep it going.
No, that makes sense. I'm still on the theory that he's the evil one with his evil car. But
Yeah.
I do agree, he does seem detached. The guy, Kirk, does a really good job with that menacing smile. Like,
Oh yeah.
he pulls it off where it's not it's not really cheesy. It's more of a creepy, like, I just stabbed this guy and he's just smiling anyway and throwing you into the back of my car.
Yeah, his face was his whole, yeah, the way he moved, his face seemed perfect for this detached villain of the video. I did look him up. He was in the last Sharknado, It's About Time, which I believe might be a time travel Sharknado.
Oh God, that makes sense.
I also looked up the female character, Danielle Victoria. I couldn't really find a lot about her. I did find her Instagram. That's about it.
Well,
Uh,
they both do a good job. There's actually a little behind the scenes, and it's about like 2.5 minutes long. It's more of just raw footage, but it's like showing getting their makeup on and setting up the scene. And one of the cool things, which is why I like the behind the scenes, is the scene where he's driving through the highway. They just have a big pole with kind of like a helicopter of lights, so two lights on each side, and they just spin it around to give that effect that he's driving down the highway, which it's
Interesting.
fun to see that behind the scenes, like, oh, this is how they simulated him driving down the road. They just have a light that's twirling around.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's cool. I know we have different interpretations on it. But for me, the woman's reaction to the glowing trunk is like the big turning point of the video. Well, I guess it's not the biggest. Obviously, her killing
Oh,
him
yeah.
is the biggest. But, like all the other hitchhikers were like horrified by either him or the trunk once they saw it. But she was drawn to it, like in trance, in my interpretation of the, the plot. And that small difference implies like she was like a willing candidate for the car to take on. Like she was susceptible to this lure of the demon car's pull. And when like she turns the tables and throws him in there, it's like her embracing this power, like, it's choosing to be, this is gonna be, I'm gonna be the predator now. And it lends to another common horror movie element of the curse is never destroyed. There's just somebody new that takes ownership of it, like the monkey's paw, or there's so many, throughout cinema history. And
Sure, there is an American Dad episode about this.
oh yeah, and you, you asked me why I like the video. Just these very strange. I think the best way to call it is like creep show vignettes or Twilight Zone. American Dad does a lot of these, like these little weird horror things that they'll like do every now and then that are very off kilter from the rest of the show. But like I love it, man. These kind of short stories are so fun. This really plays into that whole anthology style that, as we said, Stephen King really loves.
Yeah, I mean, I should have known. It always goes back to American Dad
It
somehow.
always does. Baby Metal and American Dad.
It's the two pillars of Rob's culture.
Hmm.
Well, we should mention the J or DJ Bronner is the director, and he's in the video. I think is he the one that stabs the van, or I couldn't tell. I mean, I looked him up, and he kind of looks like he's definitely not the one in the phone booth, and not the one being picked up at the beginning. So there's only one other person in it.
Yeah. I don't know which one he was. I just looked up his picture as well.
I'll say this, so we can get these so-called theories resolved. Dance with the Dead, if you happen to listen to this episode and you're like, oh, they are both wrong, here's what these characters mean, please let us know because that'll help clear things up. I mean, I still think there's two of these demon people walking around. Well, now one because she killed them, but the cars are evil too, and they need to be fed with blood.
Yes. Two more just popped into my head. The ring, the tape in the ring is like another
Mhm.
like cursed object that like just keeps finding a new owner. or the curse rather, keeps finding a new owner, right? Every time they show it to somebody. And I don't know if you've seen the movie It Follows. Essentially, there's a, let's just call it a demon that walks very slowly coming after its victim. The only way to get it to stop following you is to sleep with another person, and then it starts following them. It's a very silly concept
Yeah.
as a movie. The movie is fantastic, though. It's like one of those indie movies from mid maybe 2010 or so. But yeah, another one where it's just this like cursed object that keeps getting passed on in infinite like cycle of damnation. But it's just so fun, right? You can't kill the evil; you can only pass it on.
And I noticed with a lot of Dance of the Dead, obviously they're very horror influenced and horror themed. What did you think of the makeup of both the demon characters?
Like the skeletal kind of like
Yeah.
overlay. It did feel like a little bit like a mask,
Hmm.
essentially. But I think it was fine. They do a lot of old horror kind of stuff, or they use old horror movies as like a big vibe, I guess would be the word for their what they are as a band. So it didn't need to be picture perfect or anything like that.
Yeah.
It almost looked a little bit like the Michael Jackson Thriller makeup. Not
Yeah.
quite as refined, but it felt like they were wearing a horror mask.
And I think that's what threw me off also when I watched it the first time is this looks like he's wearing a mask and a little too cheesy. Maybe you've explained the decisions there, but if they maybe had less makeup and it was like more on them, so it didn't look like it was just them wearing a mask, that might have helped the creepy part of it.
Yeah,
Is this one, the other ones are maybe too scary for your daughter? Probably this one is as well, or
yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I don't think this one would really hold her attention just because she's not in. I guess it would hold her attention, but I think it's, yeah, I definitely think it's too dark for her at this point in her life.
I agree. Yeah, no more nightmares for sure.
Yes.
Now, have you seen the band in concert yet?
I have not. And hey, Dance of the Dead, if you hear this, stop playing shows in Atlanta on Thanksgiving weekend. Every year it's Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm always out of town, unfortunately, that weekend.
Okay, because I mean, I can only imagine their shows, especially since I think do they even have words in any of their songs?
So they have gained a little bit of popularity. They've been in a couple like video game soundtracks, which seems weird to, I mean, Tony Hawk Pro Skater obviously was a huge one, but it feels weird. Like Riot is one of their songs that was in like some car racing video
Okay.
game, stuff like that. And it started propelling them a little bit more. I actually picked up on them after watching Stranger Things. I was looking for songs that were similar to the Stranger Things intro.
Mhm.
They popped up. I think it was the first one I heard was The Man Who Made a Monster. And I just started, I love all of their stuff. I'll put them on while I'm working. I've seen their concerts on YouTube.
Okay.
I would love to see them in live. With the big push in their popularity recently, gaining a lot of fans and everything, they've started doing songs with words. Cold
Good.
as Hell is one of the recent ones, and Neon Cross. Awesome stuff. They really go into that horror theme. If you like the Night of the Living Dead, Neon Cross is a great one.
Maybe we'll get them to come to Dragon Con. I mean, if they're doing a lot of video game music.
Oh man, that'd be big. I think they might be too big for Dragon Con at this point, though.
Mm, I don't know. Crush Shadows is still there.
Yeah, well.
Can't get bigger than them. Anything else for this?
No, all I have to say is thanks for letting us do this video because I just love this weird horror genre of it's not traditional horror. It's not a slasher film. It's not a ghost story. It's just this like weird object that makes people do inhumane things. It's just a fun genre of horror.
It's a good vibe for sure.
Mhm.
Well, you know what that means. It's time for trivia.
Oh yeah,
This trivia, I had a tough time because they're a fairly new band and I wanted to find a good theme. They have Dance with the Dead on their name. I decided to go with Dance with the Dead or Rob Zombie. So
okay.
two horror-ish themed musicians. I think this will be kind of easy, but maybe not because I don't even know if Rob Zombie still releases music.
I know
But
he makes terrible movies, but
yeah, but he's doing what he loves, even if it's bad movies.
yeah,
All right. Which artist released an album called Driven to Madness
Dance with
featuring
the
a
Dead.
cameo? Oh, you know this one?
Yeah, Dance with the Dead. This
Is
this
this the
song is off.
album?
Yeah, this is off Driven to Madness.
All right. Well, then this will be tough. Which artist has sold approximately 15 million albums worldwide?
Oh, that's got to be Dance with the Dead. right?
No, Rob Zombie.
Oh, I thought he would have sold much more. Interesting.
Yeah, this includes his solo and his band work, so White Zombie and Rob Zombie. So
Wow.
yeah, he's definitely a genre, and I guess just never was that big of a genre, maybe.
I would have thought Hillbilly Deluxe alone sold that many. That's
There
crazy.
you go. Which artist live shows are known for over-the-top shock rock with a horror and sci-fi themed visuals?
That's got to be Rob Zombie.
Yep, yep. I feel like it could go either way. Since you've seen some of the Dance with the Dead shows, you probably know how they do their shows.
Yeah, it's pretty minimalistic. They don't have the Rob Zombie budget, but I mean, it does still look fun. That being said, I've seen Rob Zombie perform, and he's a great performer. Like, it's amazing shows. If you get a chance, go see Rob Zombie. It's a very fun theatrical experience.
Yeah, he seems to have good energy. Which artists' albums are deeply influenced by horror movie directors and composers such as John Carpenter and Hans Zimmer?
Hans Zimmer, interesting. I mean, John Carpenter alone. It's got to be Dance with the Dead.
Yep, you're right. Dance with the Dead. Which artist's single Dead City Radio and the New Gods of Supertown was released as a lead single for an album called Venomous Rat Regeneration Vendor?
It's got to be Rob Zombie with a song title like that,
Yeah, yes,
right?
it's very Rob Zombie style.
hmm
Which artist frequently uses guitars and synth in their live performances?
That's Dance with the Dead.
Yep, yep,
I
and
imagine
I'm
they
right.
probably both do, but
Yeah, that's true.
that's like all
Uh,
that Dance with the Dead does, though. So,
exactly. Those kids, they love their synth. All right. Which artist released an album titled Blackout along with other albums called Into the Abyss and Send the Signal?
oh, it's got to be Dance with the Dead.
That is Dance with the Dead.
I don't know Blackout as an album. I've probably heard songs from it, but I definitely know the other two. I've seen those album covers, everything.
Yeah, Blackout was an EP, but still counts as a release.
Yeah.
All right. And let's see if we can finish it out with something good. Which artists self released most of their early work before partnering with a label for later works?
Oh man, that's tricky because I could see Zombie having done that, but I definitely think Dance with the Dead did that. So I'll go Dance with the Dead.
Yep, you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
I could have seen like White Zombie starting as a independent thing, but yeah, definitely Dance with the Dead started, very indie. On my little YouTube yearly recaps, it always has indie music like significantly higher for me than I would have thought. And then I dive into it, and Dance with the Dead is like so much of what the indie music I'm listening to. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's why that's why it has such a high percentage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you definitely listen to indie artists like them and Baby Metal.
I wouldn't call
So,
them indie, but
no.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I think you hit pretty much all of our ones for the trivia this time. So, Rob, thanks for knowing your zombies and dead people ish.
The dead and the undead. Yeah, and thank you to everybody for listening. This is our final video of the Halloween one shots. And if you like these videos, there's plenty more of spooky season music videos out there, and you can get all of them on a playlist if you check out our YouTube, or you can go to Rewind and React. You could see our Halloween playlist for your parties and everything, or if you just want to hang out at home and watch some creepy music videos. Thriller, Heads Will Roll, and Sledge are all on there, along with a lot of other great Halloween music videos. So check them out and let us know what you think.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Happy Halloween!